All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. If you're new here, I'm Max Torres with Scoop Duck, back for another episode of the Oregon football discussion, talking about Oregon football recruiting, Oregon football team news, and just other headlines around the college football landscape. Joined as always by my good friend, fellow Scoop Duck writer Jonathan Charles. Jonathan, how we doing, man?
Good. How about yourself, Max?
I'm great. I'm great. Glad to be back in San Jose. Actually, I relocated for a little bit here with all the crazy fires going on. I was in Eugene. The air quality was just not very good at all. So thoughts and prayers with everybody that's fighting the fires. Those first responders that are helping us out, and everyone that's been affected by these. Hoping for the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, Jonathan, I just wanted to get into this episode. We got a lot of news to cover here. I think a good place to start it off is with this string of commitments that we've seen for the Oregon football program.
Hmm.
We could start with the biggest one that maybe some of us were expecting. Four-star 2021 offensive tackle Kingsley Suamataia. I think that's how you say it. A
Hmm.
lot of people just call him Kingsley. We all know who we're talking about. Four-star offensive tackle from Orem, Utah, 6'6", 305 pounds, committed to Oregon from a Final Seven list of Virginia, Utah, Utah State, Arkansas, USC, and Penn State. His commitment brings Oregon's 2021 recruiting class to number 3 in the country. Jonathan, give me some reactions here from this commitment.
Yeah. I watched this film. A lot of guys on the board are super stoked about him. Could be a future first round pick, if not an early NFL draft pick. Very nimble, good hand placement. Needs to work on his toughness, but he'll definitely block past the whistle. Um, Good footwork. Um, Kind of, yeah. I guess those are the main points of Kingsley.
All right. Yeah. I threw on his film earlier today just to orient myself with him just a bit more.
Mhm.
This dude is as good of an offensive lineman as you'll find anywhere in the country. Looking at his page here on 247 Sports right now, 33 offers, top 60 talent in the country, coming in at number 59, number 10 offensive tackle, number 1 player in Utah. Yeah, you talked about first round potential. I think he's a guy that is coming into this program, and I feel like he's almost ready-made to be a contributor from day one.
Yeah.
When you look at the offensive line situation with Oregon, now that Penei Sewell is departed to the NFL, they are going to be looking at a completely new offensive line. Maybe some guys that have played a little bit and limited action, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, Kingsley, you can't help but compare him to Penei a little bit,
Yeah.
given that they have, their families are close. They have a good relationship. He's incredibly athletic, excels. I want to say I think he excels a little bit more in the run game than the pass game, but he's just such a solid overall
Yeah.
player, and he finishes his blocks. What else? What else sticks out to you about this, big time player?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to make that comparison just because Kingsley's gonna play left tackle at the next level, so it's easy to see that transition. And now that Penny's gonna go to the draft, like you kind of see that Kingsley's like could be the next guy with that amount of potential in him. Um, Kingsley's gonna be a guy that a lot of fans are gonna want to remember for the next coming years. I'm definitely excited for him and where the program's going at the offensive line. And Mario Cristobal is going to recruit the hell out of that position.
Absolutely. Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirball, they zero in on their guys that they want to get at offensive line, and more often than not, they end up getting them. So
Yeah.
it's been awesome to follow that and kind of see what his recruiting approach is. And I think one of the cool things is that we honestly, I feel like some of the highest profile guys, they don't come to join the class until closer to the end.
Mhm.
So it's like it almost gets better as it goes. But with him in the fold, we'll see if they end up taking Bryce Foster. He's a big time offensive lineman as well, out of Katy, Texas, I believe. And
Mhm.
you know, a lot of people view that as an Oregon-Oklahoma kind of battle. So these spots are coming down to a premium. We'll get into that a little bit later here in the episode, as far as, you know, other spots that are still available for Oregon. But yeah, Kingsley is a huge addition. It just shows you once again that relationships pan out, and I think that goes back to kind of what you were saying with when you're looking at him as a prospect and his family in this recruiting approach, that you're going to be able to say, yeah, we saw what Panay did in 2 seasons, came in and won the Outland Trophy. I think he's still 19. I'm not sure if that's totally accurate, but he's incredibly young and he's a solidified top 5 pick.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Kingsley's gonna be definitely a first round potential. Like you see it in him, and a lot of people on Twitter have said it too. Like for example, Keith Miller, if you follow him on Twitter, he's super stoked about him and he sees the comparison as well. So, and that connection that he had with Panay was huge. And I know Panay was probably definitely in his ear, and Panay definitely showed him the ropes of like the proper technique at the next level, since they were always training together. And you saw them on Twitter training with each other at the Giant Skills Men camp in Utah.
Yeah, and so it's cool that they've, you know, had that connection for a while. I think it kind of just goes back to people thought it was more a matter of if, when, not if,
Yeah.
for his recruitment. Want to shift now. We've talked a lot about Kingsley. He's probably the headliner, you know, in this recent run of commits that Oregon's had. Now I want to get into another one that happened just yesterday. We saw 3-star 2021 linebacker Jabril McNeil pull the trigger and decide to join this 2021 class. He's a lot of people have been saying 4-star, so I just want to clarify around that. He's a 3-star on the 24/7 Sports Composite. So that's when they take in the 24/7, the ESPN, and the Rivals rankings, and they kind of average that out. So just some clarification on that. He is a 4-star on 247, you know, just their rankings, and then a 3-star on Rivals. But 6'4", 225-pound, kind of projects as more of a hybrid defender is what I'm hearing. Linebacker, defensive end. Crazy athletic. I've actually talked to Jabril. He was one of the guys that I brought on the Zooming series for this channel. So I'll make sure to link that somewhere, and you guys can check it out if you haven't already seen that. Really cool kid, super, super athletic. And he, like I said, is from North Carolina. So it was a big win for this team, seeing that he has a brother who is at North Carolina State, and, you know, always big to beat out the in-state schools and anyone else around it.
Yeah, Jabril is a huge tackling machine. Like he loves to tackle. Like he's going to be a good combo for Justin Flo when Jabril comes in. Some of the guys on the board have mentioned that that Jabril's probably going to play inside, but he could also play outside, kind of depending on how his body shapes and forms in the next coming years. Being that Jabril is only 17 years old, I believe, as a senior. So he definitely has plenty of time to build that weight and reshape his body. And so far, I mean, 6'4", 225 pounds, like he's pretty lean. So we'll definitely see how his body comes into fruition the next year or so. But yeah. So like, and then based on like the football, like he's kind of raw as well. So he definitely needs that time to develop. So we could probably definitely see him in his second year after he redshirts.
Okay, so yeah, maybe not so much of an instant impact kind of guy like we see with Kingsley projecting to be, but either way, he's still a really, really solid get. I love the you know, this athleticism that we seem to be talking about with all of Oregon's commits, regardless of position. You just want to bring in those versatile guys. I was reading the eval that our staff has up on the site for him from QB11. I'll make sure to try to get a picture up here so you guys can head over to the site and check that out if you want to learn more about why he's such a big get here. Like you were saying, Jonathan, he's you know, he hasn't completely grown into his frame, I don't think. Right now, 6'4", 225. So we could see him maybe adding on to that frame a little bit once he gets to Eugene, gets in the weight room with Coach Feld and his guys. One thing I want to talk about with this commitment, you know, we're out here on the West Coast. Eugene, Oregon is such a small town, but I feel like it kind of, with Oregon, Oregon kind of has that reach and it plays like a bigger brand. Like you wouldn't expect, this huge athletic program to be situated in such a small town.
Mm-hmm.
So we got McNeil coming all the way over from Raleigh, North Carolina. And we've seen this trend with Mario Cristobal's classes, not just here in 2021, also in 2020. He just goes into seemingly whatever state he wants and just grabs that talent. What are your reactions or thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's kind of we kind of all chuckle and laugh because of Scott Frost commenting saying that like you can't recruit to Oregon, small fertile grounds, and we laugh about it now just because like it's not true. Like a lot of guys are excited about Oregon. Like you hear all these kids like, oh, I remember growing up watching Oregon with their offense with DeAnthony Thomas, Marcus Mariota, and just like their uniforms, their facilities, and all of that. And like even to this day, like it still carries on that like recruits are excited and they kind of want to see what Eugene's all about, and they hear that Eugene's this small town, but like this loving, caring town that cares about football. Like they're all about football and the Oregon Ducks, and it's just always an electric atmosphere on game day, uh, and kids are excited to see that if it really is true.
Yeah, it's definitely building up a reputation. I feel like as a, I don't want to go as far as saying a mecca, but when you get to walk around Eugene, you see how quaint it is. But then you get to the facilities. A lot of people talk about when they go to make that decision on their college career, they want a place with not a lot of distractions. And I can definitely vouch for them that Eugene doesn't have a whole lot of distractions. Everybody's about the school, so it is a cool dynamic that you mentioned.
Yeah, plus it's Nike U, so like you have that already connection to Nike and build your career afterwards. Like a lot of guys that want to come to Oregon are business majors or kind of want to do something where Oregon's well known for, whether it be kinesiology or business.
Yeah, I like how you a lot of your stories that I read, you'll talk about what their outside interests are, these recruits, and kind of what their plan is in the grand scheme of things. A lot of them realize, these are mature guys. They realize that football is not going to last forever, and they got to make a name for themselves and get a career going even after football. So I like how you bring up that point about Nike U. Um, yeah, so those are the 2021 guys that we've seen, quack here in the past couple of days. I want to get to some of the guys that we think they might add. Seeing that space is getting tighter. But before I do that, let's talk about our most recent commitment that we've seen here on the recruiting trail. Four-star 2022 tight end Andre Dollar from Mustang, Oklahoma, committed to the Oregon Ducks today. He's a 6'5", 230-pound tight end, number 10 tight end in the country, had 24 total offers. This one came down to Oregon and Nebraska. Jonathan, I know you've talked to him quite a bit, and you've kind of had a little bit of the inside track on his recruitment. Tell me a little bit how you think he came to this decision and the player that Oregon is getting.
Yeah, so Andre Dollar tweeted a while back that he had 5 schools that he was like extremely excited about. I don't remember the list, but I know Oregon and Nebraska were 2 of them. And he mentioned Oregon, like having Mario Cristobal, having the offense, and how well they use their tight ends, especially Joe Moorhead, mastermind of offense, and like he always maximizes the potential of his tight end. So I think that was really something that excited Andre Dollar. And before September 1st, Oregon was kind of already starting to up the talk with him, doing Zoom calls with him and his parents, and kind of talking to him about the direction that they wanted to use him, and what the vision was for him. And I think Andre was really excited with the way Oregon's going. Yeah, it sucks. Oregon isn't probably isn't going to play a season. I mean, we'll see with things changing on the daily right now, but I know Andre's definitely excited about Oregon, and like he made the decision like a week ago that Oregon was going to be the spot for him. Stay tuned on Scoop Duck. That interview is going to be posted up soon here in the next couple of days as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all of it, that he was just really excited about Oregon and just kind of the way Oregon was headed.
Yeah, you talk about Joe Moorhead, and I'm so excited to hear all this buzz around him, and I think it speaks to how big of a name he is to have on your staff in your program. He hasn't even called a play or drawn anything up on a game day for this team, but people know what he's about and the tradition that he has of producing these great tight ends. He had Gesicki at Penn State before he came to Oregon, and when you're looking at Dollar. His commitment in this 2022 cycle solidifies Oregon furthermore as the top school in the Pac-12 for the rankings in 2022, and brings their class to the number 12 class in the country for that class, the junior class, rising juniors. He joins Marion Winston as one of the two commits to join the Ducks. And I think when I'm looking at Dollar's game, I think he's a really, really solid tight end. I don't think he is nearly as athletic as the 2021 guys that Oregon has right now, and Malika Matavao and Terrence Ferguson. But I mean, that's not a knock on Dollar at all. He's got really solid game, is a good blocker. And when I was watching his highlights, he's a guy that really fights for every yard and is very compact and will drive through his guy, the guys he's playing against. Any other thoughts you wanted to throw in about Andre Dollar before we move on?
Yeah, so I mean, he'll definitely be a good trio of the two guys, Maliki Matavo and Terrence Ferguson. He'll probably be more of that inline guy, and then you could use the flex or the versatility of the 2021 tight ends. And then looking at the 2022 class, looks like Oregon might just have that one tight end commit with Andre Dollar, but we'll see. Some other names to keep track of is Jaleel Skinner from Georgia. 5-star tight end. He might want to play some outside receiver. And then another guy is Donovan Green from Texas, another guy that Oregon's interested in, and we'll kind of see with their recruitment and how Oregon proceeds with them.
All right, there you go. Yeah, a couple names to keep an eye on here as we work on wrapping up the 2021 class and transitioning to 2022. So now that we've touched on all of the recent commitments, I think a lot of people are probably wondering, okay, well, what's next? What's next? I feel like knowing the Oregon fan base, they're always chomping at the bit. Okay, well, what else can we get? Can we get here? So we still have some big names to keep an eye on for the 2021 class. Another guy that Oregon's looking at, we talked about him in the last episode, Jonathan, was 3-star safety Damon David. From the DMV area out there in Maryland. It sounds like he might be, closing in on a decision pretty soon here. I know some of the players that we talked about were Oregon and Boston College. I think you told me that you've talked to him a little bit in the recent days here. What are you hearing on your end?
Yeah, so he was putting together a commitment video. He had 2 scenes left from the last time I spoke to him was on Sunday. Today we're recording this on a Tuesday. So he only had 2 scenes left and he just needed to edit it. The report is that he's going to release the video sometime here soon in the next couple of days. It's going to come down to Oregon, Boston College, and Michigan. I know all 3 were really tight in the race, but my prediction is that Oregon's going to get the commitment. 6'1", 175 pounds, I believe, but Oregon plans on using him as a boundary safety, so kind of that Javon Holland type of deal, and that roamer safety, come in the box, hit people, or play that deep third, or cover the slot. So he can do it all. You definitely see it, very rangy. He could also play the field safety spot as well if needed.
Yeah, I love how you talk about his role, kind of being that guy that comes over the top and lays the boom. He's definitely kind of a thumper kind of guy that really packs a punch, even though he's only at 175, which is relatively light, I'd say. I would think the Oregon staff would probably want him more around 190, 200 even, seeing that he is a bigger defensive back. You said it's coming down to Oregon, Boston College, and Michigan. Taking a look at the 247 crystal ball, Oregon is viewed as the heavy favorite there. 7 out of 7 predictions coming pretty much all within the last week. Like you said, it's Tuesday, September 15th as we record this, and he's narrowing his options down. I feel like a lot of people probably don't give Boston College a ton of credit. I wouldn't say, they're an elite team by any means, but I feel like they kind of have that, uh, like tradition or like quality about them. They're a really gritty team. And Jeff Hafley coming over from Ohio State, he has a strong history of developing defensive backs. If you just look at some of the recent guys that they put out, like Marshawn Lattimore, I'm trying to think of some other guys, but that's the first one.
Okuda,
Jeff Okuda, first round pick. So what do you think it says about Oregon that they're able to get a guy like this that, I think that you would see in Ohio State, we're seeing a Michigan, a Boston College going after?
Yeah, the DMV area is loaded. Like you see it every year in and year out. They always have a 5-star. They always have those underrated guys. And they continue, and that area just continues to be a fertile ground for recruiting. You see the huge recruiting powers like Alabama, Clemson, Florida, all of them. And it's definitely a battle for the two local schools, Boston College and Maryland, trying to recruit out of that area because everyone else is trying to get in that area and recruit the guys. So what it says about Oregon is that they're definitely able to identify talent and see it early on and get the guys that they want and that fit the bill for what they're trying to do as a program. And if Boston College is able to identify a 4-star defensive back with Jeff Hafley at the helm, then that's definitely a guy Oregon should definitely see into more.
Yeah. Like you said, it's the DMV area is just loaded with top talent year in, year out. One guy that comes to mind for me is North Carolina corner Tony Grimes from Virginia Beach, Virginia. 5-star defensive back, number 1 player in Virginia, number 3 corner in the 2021 class. The guy committed to North Carolina. Mac Brown has just been killing it. And, he said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and just enroll early, all within a really, really small window. But that kind of just goes back to what we're seeing. Oregon's a national brand. If it can get those top tier West Coast guys, great. But, Mario Cristobal isn't afraid by any means to expand his reach and, bring a guy all the way across the country. Damon David showing up as a 3-star here on his 247 Sports page, but he's got quite an impressive offer sheet, 23 offers. So I think it's a guy that this Oregon staff would happily welcome into the fold. And, that kind of brings up another question. After, let's say that Damon David does commit to Oregon, these spots are getting really tight. Oregon's got a ton of momentum, but do you think they're going to want to bring in another defensive back? How do you see these last spots kind of shaking out numbers-wise?
Yeah, so what we're hearing is that Oregon wants to get another defensive back. They're kind of still in the mix for Jeffrey Bassa, Sire Wright, some other safety guys, Jordan Hicks, committed to Washington State. Doesn't have an offer yet, but he's kind of another name. Ty Williams from Oklahoma, I believe. He's committed to Oklahoma State. He's kind of another guy. So the staff wants to get another safety, another defensive back. But we'll kind of see where that's trending. Sarah Wright, we're not hearing anything right now. He's kind of just waiting and seeing. He'll definitely make a decision probably by December, probably by the early signing period. Still can't take any visits, so that's kind of made it a hard deal for his recruitment. I know USC, Oregon, and Notre Dame are kind of the talked about schools the most right now, and Michigan. So we'll kind of see. And then Bassa, he just released his top 3: Oklahoma State, Oregon, and Utah. And then Ty Williams, we'll see if he's able to take a visit. But those are kind of the names right now to keep an eye on at defensive back.
Okay, yeah, those are some big names. I feel like people within the Oregon football community feel pretty confident about Bassa. I know that Ty Williams is definitely another guy to watch. Defensive back is such an interesting position that we've come to follow here at Oregon, as it's really developed into a strength over the past couple of years. When we're looking at Bassa and Ty Williams, is there one guy that you're giving the nod to if it comes down to taking one or the other?
So Bassa's more of that in-box safety. He runs a 4.5. He's more of that in-box kind of guy, kind of just lay the load. You see it on his tape. Ty Williams is probably more that rangy safety. Can kind of do it all. Plays receiver, quarterback. But if I were to give the nod, it would probably be Ty slightly. But it's no slight to Bassa. If Oregon's able to pick up Bassa, it's definitely a good pickup for sure.
Yeah, it'll be kind of weird to follow and see how that shakes out, given that Ty Williams, like you were saying, is currently committed to Oklahoma State. If he ends up flipping to Oregon, do we see Bassa stay home in Utah or maybe go to Oklahoma State and then take up that spot? So it's kind of interesting to see how all these moving parts kind of connect, with the recruiting scene. So yeah, we've hit on a lot of good parts and stories with recruiting. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we move on to kind of more some team news and headlines around the football?
Yeah, so we all know that Oregon can only have 25 commitments. I know there's a lot of speculation about Oregon can only have 23, but we'll see with transfers and moves and all that. Definitely clear up some space. So Oregon's going to take up to 25 guys this class. It'll be interesting to see how the remaining 4 spots play out with Damon David probably going to commit to Oregon here in the next few days. So it'll be interesting to see. Some of the names to keep an eye on are Corey Foreman, JT Tuilamau from Washington, Dante Thornton from the DMV area. And then that last spot is definitely going to be interesting. It's kind of, we'll see how it shakes out, that last 25th spot, whether Oregon wants to take another DB with Sire Wright, if they take Jeffrey Bassa and then take another corner and Sire Wright, or how they kind of want to play out that last spot with Corey Foreman and all the other guys. So
for sure. Yeah, and now that spots are becoming such a premium, Oregon's hitting this little streak of commitments, but I feel like things will probably slow down a little bit, just as they have to be. They don't have to be. They have to be, but they also have the luxury of being very selective, given how much work they did on the front end with this class. So yeah, we have all those names to follow. Obviously, fans are going to be keeping an eye on those 5 stars. I think people are our man Jay Hop is saying that he thinks he feels pretty good about where the Ducks stand with JT. And then it's looking like Corey Foreman could be LSU or Georgia bound. He's been saying, multiple times he wants to be a package deal with Mason Smith. So keep an eye on him. Want to shift a little bit now to some team news. Football just kicked off, the NFL just kicked off rather. And, on a similar note, Oregon has some departures, some guys that are not necessarily opting out, but they're declaring for the draft and, focusing their attention on that. Biggest name that we saw with that is Penei Sewell, 2 years and he's out at Oregon. A lot of people say he really didn't have anything to gain other than playing with his brother Noah for a year as he's a freshman. He really has solidified himself as this top tier offensive lineman. The highest graded offensive tackle from PFF since they started doing the grading system by a long shot. What are your thoughts and reactions to this news?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely disappointed. As pretty much any Duck fan was, because they definitely want to see Penei one last time hit the field and see what Oregon can do on offense and all the pieces that they brought in, Jordan Moorhead, and what Tyler Shough could do in the pocket given time, and Penei protecting his blind side. So it was definitely a sad thing to hear, but it was the best decision Penei could make, being a top 5 pick potentially. So yeah, it was definitely a sad day for Duck fans.
Yeah, we're going to be sad to see him go, but I think I've written about it in my take that Panay's a guy that you love to see Mario Cristobal bring in and just do everything that he said he was going to do. Panay said in his open letter, Mario Cristobal kept every promise he ever made to me and my family. He's just another shining example of how Mario Cristobal can not only recruit but develop that top talent, and hopefully see Oregon continue this trend of putting guys into the league year after year as it chases that identity of becoming a blue blood again. So yeah, we talked about Panay. As far as guys that I think that could replace him, I think Stephen Jones is a big name that a lot of people have their eye on. 6'7", 350-pound guy. He's a huge guy that is probably one of the more experienced guys when you're looking at options here. And then got Jonah Tuanu. He's a huge name that I think some people, including myself, might have forgotten that we had, just because things have been so incredible recruiting wise. But he's a guy I think that we should keep an eye on as far as possible replacements. And I think it might add. I don't think Tyler Shuck's going to be nervous by any means, but when you go from having a fortified Outland Trophy winner protecting your blind side to someone who's a little bit newer, that's not necessarily the ideal situation. But confidence in Tyler Shuck and certainly Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal to put together a hell of an offensive line. Looking to other NFL departures that we saw Thomas Graham make the call, Oregon cornerback, to prepare for the NFL. We saw him kind of trial by fire when he got thrown into the action as a true freshman. Not so much out of skill, I would say. With that situation, he wasn't head and shoulders above. I feel like a lot of people, Oregon was kind of in the position with the secondary where it's like we just have a lot of young guys, and that's it's a young secondary at that point in time. But he really we saw him develop into a phenomenal cornerback, some guy that you could really, I don't think he was necessarily locked down, but he was super consistent, was always around the football, and I think he had like 32 pass breakups. What are your thoughts on Graham and his Oregon career and making the call to go to the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of sad to see because Thomas Graham grew up in my area. I kind of was excited that Oregon was able to land his commitment when he was coming out of high school. A former USC commit, and then his dad running Ground Zero here in the area, the 7-7 on team. Or not his dad, but just the guy that he's well known for. Has connections with Coach Hawkins, Armand, running Ground Zero. So it was sad to see that Graham left. It was kind of a shocker too, because he definitely was making progressions last year as a junior, and then I think it could have benefited him a little more, showing out senior film. But I mean, all he can do now is just work on getting faster. That 40 time is definitely going to be a huge deal with his draft stock, and just working on his DB technique until the combine.
Yeah, speed's gonna always a huge factor when you're looking at drafting a defensive back. I know our guys Matt Bagley and Justin Hopkins were talking about that on the Scoop Duck pod. That's usually posted weekly. Make sure you guys go give that a listen. We're all looking for some distractions from the world right now, and I think that they do a great job of talking about all the Oregon headlines that you want to hear. But yeah, Graham's a guy that I think came in, and I think he did pretty much what we were expecting him to do. He was a solid guy. I agree that he could have benefited from another year in terms of trying to take that next step to climb a little bit higher in the draft boards. But he's got that LA connection, like you said, and LA always puts out good skill players, whether it be running back, receiver, defensive back. So he's a guy that Oregon's definitely happy they were able to bring in. Staying on the topic of NFL departures, we also saw cornerback Dillon Lenor opt to go to the NFL. He's a guy that his recruitment was a little bit more dramatic, I feel like. He wasn't a USC commit like Graham, but he is from the LA area, committed to Oregon early, backed off of that commitment, and then he came out with a final three of Oregon, Nebraska, and Mississippi State
Mm-hmm.
before ultimately reaffirming his commitment on National Signing Day to the Ducks. I believe Mark Helfrich was still the coach at that time, him being a class of 2017 guy. What are your thoughts on Lenore? Do you think that he was, kind of on par with Graham? How does he stack up? And, what do you think is his NFL outlook?
Yeah. So he probably, it wasn't so much of a shocker, I guess, in a way. You could see that Graham was definitely going to be a top tier NFL draft pick, not a first round, probably maybe a day two type of guy, second round or third round, but that's if he came back. But I think now with him not coming back, I think you could see him day three, probably in the fourth round. But again, that 40-yard dash is going to be a big deal for his draft stock and how well he does at his pro day and at the combine if he gets an invite.
Yeah, for sure. The pro day is going to be big, and then the same thing that we said, like with Graham, speed's going to be big. I think that Graham was a little bit more technical of a cornerback, of a defensive back, but Lenore definitely had his fair share of flash. I think he spent a little bit of time as a returner. I know he did in high school, but I think when I think about his Oregon career, I'm always going to remember that one-handed catch, that interception over the middle against USC when they were in his hometown. So really excited to see how he projects. He, I think, was a great Oregon player, but I'm also in the same boat thinking that he could have benefited from another year. But either way, that's how things are going to go. Just a couple more topics we want to touch on here. Hopefully, we don't run out of time here on the Zoom. But with these departures, we have a young secondary at Oregon now. This group was going to be a big strength for them, and I think it still can be. But now we're kind of left with a what's next. And you have Oregon recruiting so solidly that they have five-star cornerback Dante Manning, who's going to be, the talk of, this who's next type of deal. And then you also have Michael Wright, who was a certified baller. I talked to Jacob Archer, another one of our writers here. I talked with him all the time about Michael, and he thinks he's going to be a 3-and-out kind of guy. What's next for this Oregon secondary, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I know Thomas Graham and probably Diamondor Lenore were definitely worried about a spot and playing time and how is it going to work out, because Michael Wright is going to be a 3-and-out guy, a baller. He's going to be a future NFL first-round draft pick with the development. Hopefully no injuries occur. And then Javon Holland could be the next guy. He hasn't announced as of yet, but he could be the next big name to depart for the NFL. He's projected first round, but he'll probably be a day two guy, probably go in the second round, probably early in the second round. He's probably the next guy that's probably going to depart. But Oregon overall, they're in a good spot. If defensive back was the spot that Oregon could lose, they definitely they're in good shape.
Yeah, it's so cool to see kind of how they would have reacted to this in years past, but now they're much more prepared. It's not so much we're going to have to rebuild the defensive back position, but we're reloading in terms of the guys that you're seeing them recruit and the guys that they're fielding at the end of the day. So I'm also surprised that Holland hasn't declared yet, but he, other than Penei Sewell, is probably the highest profile draft guy that they have coming out of Oregon here.
And it helps in recruiting. Like Coach Hayward and Coach Chance can sell to recruits here in the 2021 class and 2022 class that these three defensive backs are going to be day one or day two guys if everything shakes out well.
Yeah, great point. That always factors in a lot of guys that we talk to that say, hey, I want to, a coach I can trust, have a good relationship with, and I want to get to the league at the end of the day. And Oregon staff is proving that they can do that, develop that talent, and get them to the next level. Probably the last topic I want to touch on here, Jonathan, I tweeted about it a little bit earlier, is the Big Ten is expected to announce its voting today for a return to football. It's just been absolute chaos in that conference. Being someone who likes football, I'm always down for more football, even though I got to be honest, I don't think it's safe right now. But, it just brings the question, if they end up playing again, the Pac-12 is the only conference that isn't playing. How do you think this could potentially affect the Pac-12 and Oregon?
Yeah, so I think Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott's going to try and push up the calendar if this Big Ten football season starts sooner than expected. What we're hearing from Justin Hopkins, from what he said, is that that the Pac-12 could start in November. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I have my opinion about how the football season will probably shake out and how if they should play. But that set aside, I think the Pac-12 will probably start earlier this year, but we'll see how it plays out with the rest of the conferences. And I know ACC just started last week with their schedule, so yeah, again, it's definitely hard to see or play out because of the college football playoffs and all that.
Yeah, we'll have to track how Oregon's doing with that and what's going to happen with the conference. It's a lot of moving parts. We have, especially with the Pac-12, not just the coronavirus pandemic. Now you have these wildfires. Oregon probably wouldn't have been able to play Ohio State regardless of the pandemic. If you just look at, I shot a picture on Twitter the other day of just Oregon Autzen just shrouded in smoke. So hopefully that'll, improve a little bit. We have the Pac-12 getting this rapid testing, turning it around in 15 minutes. So that could be big. That's been a huge storyline about if they're actually going to be able to do it or not. So that'll be something to follow. I hope that they can, get to return to play as soon as possible, just because normally I'm in Eugene and I'm just, so anxious and excited to try to cover that. Is there anything else you wanted to hit on real quick here, Jonathan? We're just about out of time.
I mean, we'll see how the Pac-12 decides to move with this. Hopefully the players are back on campus soon so they can start training and getting tested and start quarantining and all that.
All right. Yeah, we'll be keeping track on that, keeping track of that. Try to keep you guys updated as always with all that going on. You can find me on Twitter at mtorresports. I also write Torres' Take, published just about every week on Scoop Duck. Jonathan, where can they find you at in your work?
Find me on Twitter on Jonathan_SD8. Watch out on Scoop Duck for some stories. I got one coming soon with the 2022 5-star defensive end, and then the Andre Dollar commitment.
All right, right on. Well, you guys all know where to find us. Hope everybody's staying safe out there, given everything that's going on. Try to keep positive. Stay prepared if you're, in a fire zone. Really hoping that everybody can stay safe with that. And follow college football stuff when you can. Just try to focus on the positive stuff at the end of the day. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to stay tuned, stay safe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
See you guys.